And we welcome you all in to an episode 9, week whatever we're on. Jesus, the bye week always gets me. Edition of Catching Up with Coach, and I'm your solo host for the evening, Coach Trey. How are we all feeling, y'all? It's Tuesday night, ready to rip, ready to ride, ready to kick tires and light the damn fires. Lot to get into tonight, and I mean a lot. A lot. Wow. I'm gonna be honest. So last week's episode was absolutely fantastic. The feedback that we've been getting on the on the on this specific show, it's something else, man. Y'all are incredible. Thank you for all the love and the support. The views are just going up and up and up on the Catching Up with Coach shows, and so certainly that means that y'all are doing your part, sending it out. Like I said, to your aunties, your uncles, your friends, your professor from college that you know like football. I mean, anybody that you think might have a vested interest, not only in college football but more importantly, SEC football, and then more nearly your Fighting Tigers of LSU. This show is certainly centered around that hemisphere, and so we kind of want to continue to do those things, and we definitely want to make sure that we highlight that, but not put too much emphasis on the fact that it is. I mean, of course, it's an LSU show, but what we don't want is to make it seem as though this is the only team that we watch. Because I can assure you that is not the case. Last weekend on the bye weekend, we had the ability to really watch, wire to wire, pretty much every other team and kind of see what they're working with here in the middle of the season. And so some really good games last weekend, to be honest with you. I think it kind of set us up for what we're going to have, this weekend, which is a really big slate of important games. Funnily enough, one of my favorite games of this week is going to be Oregon and Indiana, who unbelievably have the two Heisman front runners right now in Mendoza and Dante Moore. They are 1A and 1B as it pertains to the Heisman conversation. And so who would have thought that we would be, we'd be week, 7, 6, whatever the case, halfway through the season, call it what you will, and an SEC quarterback is not at the helm of the Heisman race. That's definitely not the world that we expected, but it's the one that we're in, and it's reality. And so we don't want to get too further down the aisle here without at least mentioning that if you're not on a Heisman horse, this weekend next is kind of your time to do it. Listen, I know that these things can go down into like week 9, 10, and 11, but or in Jaden Daniels' case, week 12. You really do have to try to jump ahead of this if you want to get some good odds. And so I really think Dante Moore is a great option. I think Oregon's got some fellas down in the trenches. I think that's a really good football team. And I just don't see many other options outside of him. I think Indiana is a lot better than they were last year, but I just have a difficult time seeing their QB take this home at the end of the year. I think there's going to be an SEC team that kind of postures themselves up. And then, I mean, what do you say about Carson Beck, who just continues to, to do his thing out there in South Florida over there in Miami. So, again, I don't want to get too far away from the crux of this. The crux of this is obviously what you guys want to hear about, and it's the LSU Fighting Tigers. And can they bounce back about South Carolina? What is Nussmeier's health? And what exactly can you expect from a team with 2 weeks to prepare for Lenora Sellers? And so we're certainly going to get into all of that tonight. I've got a list of things that I want to talk about. But before we get started, I just want to say, again, thank you, an emphatic thank you, and a big shout out to my boy Russo for giving me the platform to be able to be here, helping us set up, getting the intro video. The music gets me hyped, man. I wouldn't be here without his ability to help me, and certainly without his desire to allow me to be here. So incredibly grateful for him. And before we get started, again, at code Trey G10. Listen, I'm telling y'all, this is a new lid, okay? Like Web Western's been hooking us up. We are incredibly excited to mention them. This entire bill is a magnet, by the way, for any of you that are fishers. This whole bill, is there something metal that I can like put? I don't have anything metal. that I can stick to this bill and let y'all see that it is a magnet, but it's literally a magnet. This entire thing is a magnet, and it's got like a little sweat blocker up here in the brim. This is an incredibly comfortable hat and super stylish, and this is their angler. Really, really awesome, super fast shipping. David Webb, the founder over there, is an awesome guy. So super excited to be affiliated with them. That's code Trey G10 for a little discount if you guys want to go and poke around, see what you like, see what you find. So let's get into it. We don't want to waste any more time. Be honest with you guys, I really didn't see this one coming. 9.5-point favorite. Your Fighting Tigers of LSU are a 9.5-point favorite here at the crib against South Carolina. I'm not really entirely sure that I like that. I'm not really sure that I love that line. I think that's a stinky line. I think that's a line that is kind of indicative of a team that might not be as good as South Carolina is. I have a problem with 10 points. And even if it's 9.5, I've got a problem with more than 6. I think a touchdown, if you can get a touchdown, I love that. LSU has not really shown their ability to pull away really from any team that's, not, I mean, that's in the SEC, of course. I mean, you beat Florida and you had your chances to beat Ole Miss. We certainly went over that in the last episode, but you're not seeing the ability to pull away. And so what does that mean for those of you that are new here or that don't maybe quite know, what I mean by that? When I say the ability to pull away, the ability to pull away means that you're doing what you're supposed to do so that your play calling isn't as predictable, okay? So that every time you're calling a play, you don't have to fight the gambit. And the gambit is their sideline knows what your sideline wants to do. Okay. Your ability to pull away happens whenever that happens. So if you're going to constantly be, running on 2nd and 5 or running on, 3rd and 4 or throwing on 1st and 10 or throwing on, 2nd and 8, like there's tendencies. Okay. And you are very predictable as an LSU fan, or rather as an LSU football team, you are predictable. And so I have a very difficult time with seeing you be able to pull away with a double-digit lead against a team with a Lenore Sellers who can do everything. The caveat to that, and the reason why I think this line smells like that, is because of their offensive line. And if you think your offensive line has had some trouble, sisters and brothers, let me point you to the South Carolina Gamecocks, because I can assure you they have had their struggles on the offensive line, and it's not been pretty. Lenore Sellers can clearly cover a lot of that up whenever he's, an Adonis and can run and throw the football the way that he can, and he covers a lot up. Jaden Daniels did that for you. Maybe not in the same way, but Jaden Daniels covered up a lot of issues for you as it relates to the running game and as it relates to pass protection. And you really stood the test of time in pass protection for the most part with that offensive line with Jaden Daniels. But when things would go bad, he could run the hell up out of there, run a 4.3, run a 4.4, get up out of there and pick him up and put him down. And you don't have that ability with Garrett. Garrett needs that extra little pocket, that little space to go and do something with. And there's not a lot of these down the field, explosive, mean, nasty offensive play calling. And there's also not enough dominant running on the offense. I just don't know how 10 points can. I don't know, man. I mean, maybe you get some picks. Maybe you get, another pick six. Maybe you get another couple of picks, and you can pressure Lenore Sellers into making some issues, some erroneous throws. But brother, 9.5 points is a lot. So I just wanted to come out and say that. I also wanted to say one thing that BK said in his press conference that I thought was interesting. So for those of you that listen onto this show, and again, thank you all for being here tonight. Please hit like and subscribe. For all of you that have been, listening in on this show, there has been exactly one player that we have said from the jump consistently needs to have more playing time, and his name is Carius Kern. And Carius Kern, of course, go back and go back and watch the play that Garrett forces the ball to Trey Green into the triple coverage. Go back and look at what Carius is doing. Go back and watch it. Go back and watch him in pass pro. Run blocking is certainly going to be his downfall. And if there is a downfall, it's going to be that, but he's going to struggle there because that is certifiably always the part that a younger person on the offensive line, especially a freshman, is going to struggle with. Hand placement, hat placement, push him in this way, not that way. Like you should have the ability to not desire help on this specific thing. There's a lot that goes into run blocking, and that is typically where you'll see, some of that PFF grade pull you down a little bit as it relates to a offensive lineman. But pass pro, I mean, he's mean, man. He's mean. He's nasty. He gives you a I want to hurt you mentality, and you can't afford to not have that on your offensive line. And the thing that Brian Kelly said on the press conference, which we alluded to a couple of minutes ago, is the possibility now that he's got game reps, now he can go and play guard, or you at least have the ability to put him at guard. Why all of a sudden is it just now that you can put him at guard? Did you need to see it to believe it? Is it that you didn't think that in practice he was showing you that he could block as a guard? Newsflash: he's he's blocking Bernard Gooden when he's playing at the guard, who has given everybody fits. Bernard Gooden has been getting through the backfield like it's his day job, like the sun coming up and Bernard Gooden getting past people and getting into the backfield. Like it's every play. So my problem is that it shouldn't take that to know that that Carius can give you that. And sometimes you just have to put the kid out there and say, just give me what you got. And maybe he's a game or two. Maybe he's not a practice player. Maybe he's lost. Maybe he's, sucking his teeth or whatever. You don't want to listen to instruction and he's doing wrong crap in practice. I don't care. He's 330 pounds. He's mean. He's nasty. And he wants to hurt people. Put that big ass kid on the offensive line and just tell him to go. Tell him who his man is and just let him eat. Like, let him eat. Left guard, right tackle. I don't care. Put him on the line. This isn't hard. The other thing that I wanted to say is that, what is Paul Mubenga? I got a dust on my screen. You heard me? Hey, now, get that off. What does Paul Mubenga's ankle look like? How quickly can you recover from, that kind of an ankle sprain? I'm not exactly sure that Cohen Eccles was really giving you, a world dominant performance. I just don't see that from him yet. And I'm not saying he can't ultimately end up being good. And I think that Cohen Eccles could end up being very good here. I actually do believe that. I just haven't seen it yet. And so what I wanted to come on to the show and say is that I really, really thought that you would have seen someone separate themselves. And it seems as though Braylon Moore and Tyree Adams are really the only ones that are really doing their thing. And even Tyree had a difficult game last game, but he is by far and away your best option at left tackle. And he is also by far and away your second best offensive lineman that we've seen so far. Maybe Carius Kern is now, but Braylon Moore has been doing his thing, and Tyree Adams has certainly been doing well up until last week. So do you give Carius Kern a look at left tackle and flip Tyree over to right? Do you really want to flip that much? Or do you just want to put Weston Davis back in there and tell Carius to go line up on the left side and you just run the ball behind his big ass? Run the ball behind him and Tyree Adams. I'm cool with that. I actually think that's a really good idea because Weston Davis is on that other side and he's going to have some struggles because we've seen him have some struggles, but he is going to give you effort, and that at least we can say. But the difficult part is that I just don't think that you're going to be able to run the football. I don't. You couldn't run it on Ole Miss. You couldn't run it on Tech, who has proven to be a good Division II football team. But you can't run it on you. If you couldn't run it on Ole Miss in a 3-man box, then why are you all of a sudden gonna run it on a better South Carolina defensive line? You're just not. So unless you want to start lining up in that power I, then you're going to have issues running the football, but you have to find ways to generate it. You have to. You can't get to where you want to go without having some sort of an identity. And we talked about that last week on the show, and it's just that way, y'all. Like I don't mean to be harsh. I just it's very, very difficult for me to continue to watch us have such a difficult time with running easy, consistent run blocking assignments. And we're just not doing them right. You're running 5-on-3 and you can't get a push. That is crazy. That's crazy. that's insane. So I just wanted to say, you have to find a way. You have to. And so in the spirit of talking about things that BK said during his press conference, is that he mentioned something interesting. And I alluded to this when saying that you're getting predictable. You're predictable in who you run onto the field. Okay? Let me explain. If you've got 3 different guys that come onto the field and you ask a GA to go and make a cut up of every 100 snaps that LSU's rushed on, and you start taking account of the men. Don't count the offensive linemen, because obviously they're going to be in regardless. You start noticing Bauer Sharp on the field. You start noticing people like Trey Green come off the field. You start maybe if Destin Hill can come back, you notice some Destin Hill, some Kyle Parker. You notice some. Who's somebody else that's always going to be in? Anderson. Obviously, Anderson not Aaron Anderson, the other one. Like when you have the same people coming onto the field and plays are getting called, at some point a coach is going to go, there's an 80% chance they run that. And if they just throw it, then they throw it. You got to beat us. So if Nick Anderson is going to block on the outside, Kyle Parker is going to block on the other side, Destin Hill is going to come on the other side, and you've got Bauer Sharp in line as your 6th man, or Donovan Green even. Don't you think that an SEC coach is going to be able to catch up to that? You have to be less predictable. You have to be able to stick with 3 or 4 receivers and go, you boys are going to play 9 plays, 7 plays, 8 plays. It's difficult for you to not want to use all the talent that you have, but you have to trust Barry and Brown to want to go get a block for you. You have to trust Aaron Anderson to want to go get a block for you. You have to trust that Chris Hilton can get on the field and put down a block for you. Chris Hilton's been here since the Reagan administration. He is capable of blocking a cornerback. I'm fairly confident in that belief. If there's anybody, if anybody knows anything about blocking another person, whether you are work at a retail store and someone stole from your store and you're blocking them from getting out of the door, or if you played football at the high school level and you're just trying to block downfield on kick return, it ain't that different. Get in front of somebody, put your hands up under their pits, and get after their ass. You feel me? It's not that hard. So let's stop with the let me get the perfect receivers onto the field to block. Dude, there's no Julio Jones on your team. You don't need to have this specific person every time you run the ball. Jesus, like, and here's an idea. Hold on. Stay in our socks, y'all. Stay in our socks. I don't even have any on. I'm in my Uggs. What if you ran your run block receivers and then you threw the ball? What do you think would happen if we did that? Like, what if you add that wrinkle into the mix? What if you actually do what people don't think that you'll do, and you give Trey Green a go? Like, instead of trying to assert your 6'8", 240 tight end and say, hey, dude, we need you to go and block. And then he can't do it, slips and falls and sprains his MCL. Why don't you send him on a go route in man coverage and let the other receivers go and dictate man coverage and throw him the ball one-on-one? Who in the big wide world of Christ, our Messiah, has a defensive back that can cover 6'8"? I'll wait. Nobody's going to hit the line. Yeah, no one can. No one can guard 6'8". So why not get him the ball? What about over the middle? How about you throw the ball to him over the middle? What about that? What if just for and look, this is not me trying to call plays. I'm a medical sales rep that just likes to talk about college football for my spare time living. What if we hold on? What if you take the one running play that you ran the best and you run it again? What if you line up in the I formation on 3rd and 2 and just pound the rock like 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 Ray Lewis face mask, messy bar, neck roll, Advil, smelling salt, Mountain Dew crushed on the head type crazy shit? Like, what if we do that? What if we just get mean for a second and stop being finesse? Like, it's just difficult for me to see you continue to try to do the things that you're trying to do and it not work, and then you do it again on the next drive, and you have to wait till like the end of the third quarter and the fourth quarter when you're behind to try to do some different things. It's just difficult, man. But aside from all of that, let's pretend that you don't, right? Let's pretend that you go back to the finesse things that you do well. You do these things well. You do them. Running the ball in clear running downs, getting very little gain, and then having to throw the ball over the middle. If you're going to throw the ball over the middle, get it to Aaron Anderson. Don't give it to Aaron Anderson when he's double covered and throw it 3 feet above him. Give Garrett easy throws to get himself in rhythm. And if you obviously know he's hurt, get him rhythm throws. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Get me some tempo. Give me what Garrett did back at Marcus, Marcus High School. Like, give me some of that. This finesse, this check with me down to 5 seconds on the play clock. Like, it's there's just not a good smooth rhythm to it, brother. It's just not. It's just ugly. And stop. You don't have to be. You don't have to be that way. You can be in rhythm, and you can make this the way that you want, because Sloan wants to throw the ball. So throw the ball, but do it with tempo. Maybe make the defense be tired, and then in the third quarter you continue to pound the rock, and then you weigh them down, and then you lean on them, and then you start getting some first downs. It's a novel idea. It works on the PS5. I don't know, man. Just my thoughts. You feel me? The next thing, before we get to the keys to a dub, in the press conference, Brian Kelly did say something about we need to get more consistent back and it's not a back and forth with Cortez Hankton, but it felt like it felt kind of like a, hey, we're trying to do too much with the receivers. And it kind of, it struck me as if he was trying to talk through the media to his coach, which, obviously Brian Kelly has told him to his face. But it's very difficult for me to think that you need to do that in order to get your point across. And so if you don't need to see 7 receivers, then say, I don't want 7 receivers. Why don't you, if you're Brian Kelly, grab you a play sheet and we just start ripping it? You feel me? Like, because you know how he is. He's got his little play sheet in his headset. start ripping it. Like when you got to Florida last year, when you got to Oklahoma, when you got to Baylor, that is a Brian Keith Kelly has the play sheet offense. That is not all him, but that's with a lot of input from him. Alex Atkins, they're going back and forth on run fits. Guys, we just got to do something. We just got to do something. And maybe we're just trying to do too much. That's all I'm trying to say. So we're 25 minutes into the show. I just want to say again, by all means, for all of you that are going to be watching the show, whether it's live or on delay, we thank you kindly for that. Several over 100, viewers and watchers, several different comments, DMs. It's crazy that you guys have such an appetite for this, and I'm happy to do it. I'm happy to to come on here and talk and kind of go back and forth. And of course, it's a Tuesday night. It's 6:45. People have kids. Y'all have lives. Y'all just got off at work. Y'all are tired, and consistently, you guys want to show up and show some love. And I couldn't be more grateful for that. So thank you emphatically, and I love each and every one of you for that. So before we wrap this one up in a bow, because I really don't think we need to make this one too difficult, and because I really do think that Russo and I are going to have a really good show for Thursday. Keys to a dub. Okay. The one thing that Blake Baker has not done yet as it relates to being the LSU defensive coordinator is effectively stop a running quarterback. And I don't necessarily think that you should expect him to all of a sudden be good at that now. But I do think that there are a couple of ways that you could do it. One of which is a spy, which means that you kind of take somebody out of pressure, you take somebody out of coverage, and you leave a little bit more of, man-to-man, which I'm very fine with. I think you can cover these receivers maybe outside of Nick Harbor, man-to-man, but you have to pressure him. You have to. You didn't pressure Trinidad Chambliss that much. You let him sit back and just dissect the defense and throw it to spots. And it was really heralding. It was really heralding to see, and it was very disappointing to see. And I was very, very pissed off that you didn't send more pressure because you had the ability to. Well, now you have to, because if he gets off of rhythm and he gets out of the pocket, that's whenever you've got problems, because he can absolutely tear your defense apart. He's got a rocket for an arm. He's fast as hell, and he's huge, and it takes a lot to get him down to the ground. So you have to pressure or spy Lenore Sellers. You have to. You absolutely have to stay with integrity in your run lanes, but you have to pressure Lenore Sellers. Again, we said it earlier, but you have to find a way to run the football. You need 100 yards rushing in this game. I don't care how it looks, but you got to have it. Have to. I don't care if it's 50 from Caden or 25 from Xavion and then another 30 from Harlem and 10 from Caleb and 7 from Garrett. I don't care. You have to have at least 100 yards rushing in this football game, or else it's going to be a long night, because you have to be able to chew the clock to be able to keep the ball away from South Carolina, who does not have a great offensive line. Like, you want them to you want to attack them and get after their ass, because they don't have a great offensive line. So back to point one, if you're going to pressure Lenore Sellers, you really don't want to have to be 11 plays down the field and pressuring Lenore Sellers. You want to get him off the field on third down and have him punt the ball, and you play some field position and really let the crowd get into the game and put the pressure on them. So I really think that you have to be able to run the ball. This one seems like a little bit, and this is number 3, and I think this might be one of the most important ones. For those of you that remember the game last year, and for those of you that don't know anything about the Beamers, Shane Beamer, the coach of South Carolina, comes from a very long lineage of special teams, okay? He is a special teams guru. That is just his thing. The fact that you were able to survive a special teams catastrophe last year and still win the football game is a modern marvel. You must be locked down on special teams. You cannot give them any motivation and any juice on either side of the football. So Ahmad Anan better be on his P's and Q's this week, who's your special teams coordinator, your special teams analyst. You better have an answer for what they are on special teams. And I mean, you better be down the field tackling. You better come up with a 30-yard return. You better put the football inside the 10-yard line when you can pin them deep. You have to take away that element from them. You must. You must. Because if you do not, it is going to be incredibly difficult for you to play field position with them if you let it be easy for Lenore Sellers. It's just as simple as that. Your ability to dominate at least one phase of the football game will be incredibly dependent on how good the phase of special teams looks. So as it relates to offense or defense, special teams is going to come up big here. And this is key number 4. And it's 2 words. Okay. Trey Des Green. It's a combo word, but Trey Des Green. The best receiver on South Carolina is Nicholas Harbor, who is all nation track speed, 6'4", 6'5", 225, big, strong, fast. You have someone bigger and faster. Well, probably not faster, but you have someone that also fits that bill, and his name is Trey Des Green. And he's had a very quiet year. Now, granted, some of that has come from injury, but he's had a very quiet year. I think that you have to have the ability to be real with yourselves and say, we have not utilized who he is, and we have not utilized him enough. Hell yeah, in the chat for my dog, Bo. I think he agrees with me. Trey Des Green is freaking huge, and you have to put him on linebackers. You have to put the ball into space, and you have to give him the ability to run and go get the ball. And now, granted, you tried to throw it to him in the end zone in Ole Miss, and it was one of the worst throws that you had. And thank God Nick Anderson was there to catch the ricochet and get you a touchdown. But it's just difficult for me to not see him be utilized enough in this offense. And so I'd really like for Trey Des Green to be used here. Last but certainly not least, that man is massive. 10-4 on that. Last but certainly not least, you have to get off the field on third down, man. You have to. You have to get off the field on third down. Because what's going to become difficult for you as you play these football games with dangerous quarterbacks, with the Ty Simpsons of the world, with the Lenore Sellers of the world, with the Moneyline Mateer of the world, with Marcel Reed of the world, you're going to have a very difficult time finding me feel bad for you if you're not able to get off the field on third down. You have to make this easy on yourself. And if you don't, then it's only your fault. And I'm not saying that you have to get off the field on third down, meaning that you have to just be better than them on every single play, but you have to eliminate the dumb, idiotic penalties. The West Weeks inside the red zone, backed up to their goalpost, and then you give up a personal foul and give them the drive to go down the field. That's unbelievably uncalled for, and that can't continue to happen. So you have to make this easy on yourself, because if you do not, this is going to be a very long game for you. And so I think what's going to be interesting for me is to see how we exactly set this up on defense and how exactly Blake wants to attack this, because I think if I'm Blake Baker, I'm sending the house. I'm sending pressure. I'm pressuring Lenore Sellers into disadvantageous situations and making him feel like he's got to make a decision. Hurry up. Don't give him time. Because if you give him time, he is going to tear you apart. And it's not that difficult of an ask, because I think that your defensive line is better than their offensive line, and I don't think that that's even remotely close. It should be the main key to dub this week. It should be. So running the ball, pressuring Lenore Sellers, lockdown special teams, Trey Des Green, and getting off the field on third down is my keys to a dub. And I don't think that I'm really saying anything that's like, setting the standard for, what is it that we can call and dial up to win this game? Dude, this is just simple. This is simple football. And so I just want to say it starts now. You've got October now. You go on the road to a good Vanderbilt team with NIL invested now next week. You then come back to the crib, okay? You come back to the crib, and you've got Texas A&M. Like all right, y'all. Like you've got Arkansas too. Like you got to go to Oklahoma at the end of the year. You've got Bama coming up in November. You're gonna have a bye week before then. Of course, you're gonna have the New Mexico State or Western Kentucky, whatever. I forget which one it is, but you're gonna have these. You're gonna have these games, boom, 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 back to back to back, where you really got to be locked in, and it starts this weekend at home, and you have to win. You have to if you want to do what you want to do at the end of the year. To follow up the show, I didn't want to make the whole show about this because I think that we did spend a lot, and probably too much time talking about it last week, and that's Garrett Nussmeier's injury. And so I want to take the final few minutes to be able to talk about that. The Garrett Nussmeier injury is interesting because we've gone back and forth with this so many times, right? And at the press conference, Brian Kelly goes to the podium and says that, Garrett is obviously, ready to rock. He's probable. He's healthy, whatever. I believe him being in the injury protocol, though, does suggest that there was still some discomfort. Him taking away snaps, throwing with the towel, Michael Van Buren taking off first team reps rather for a few practices. Like, are you telling us that we're right? Because maybe that injury was re-aggravated at Ole Miss. Maybe Garrett wasn't 100% all the way there, and maybe he should have been using the virtual reality in the VR room and goggles all this time. Maybe. And I just take the time off, man. If you're hurt, just take the time, but put it in on something else. Pause. Put the time and effort in on the VR. Go back to the film room. Go through the reps with your receivers on Tuesday nights and Wednesday nights. Like, go through those motions. All this was supposed to be done in the offseason, which we can clearly see was not as in-depth as the Jaden and Joe Burrow off seasons were. So you're now having to basically fight for your life and let that arm talent keep you alive and hold you alive in these situations. And so I think Garrett's going to play. I think Garrett's going to play the majority of the game, and I think that he's going to say that he's 100%. I don't know that he's going to want to talk about the injury. I think he's probably closer to 80 or 85 maybe. And is 80 or 85% Garrett good enough to win? Only time can tell, and only we'll know. But I firmly believe that if you're only going to get the Garrett that you got last week, I think South Carolina and the points is a lock. I'm not saying that South Carolina is going to come in here and win outright. I'm not saying Vegas even predicts that, but a 10-point spread is insane to me if Garrett is still not healthy. And the only way we'll know if he's healthy is by watching him play. So maybe watch the first couple of drives, see how that line pivots, and then lock it in. And just lock it in. And so, again, I just wanted to say, I can't stress this enough. This is an opinion. It seems as though something is not right. And it seems as though there is something that we're not being told. So we'll see. We will see. But that is going to put a bow on us, y'all, right at 7 o'clock. I'm going to get y'all out of here. Incredibly excited to be here. Thank you guys so very much for your support, for your love. Everybody for watching us on delay. Thank you for tuning in. I'll post this up on Facebook and shoot it out to, my personal friends and whatnot. But help me share this. Help me share this and get this out. If there's other people that that like and love LSU football, tell them to comment. If they don't have Google accounts and they don't have, YouTube accounts to go and comment on the video, throw us a comment. Go and find us on X. Go and find us on the social media string and let us communicate back and forth on what you're seeing. Give us some feedback. Give me some feedback. What do you maybe want to see, talk about more on the next show? Less of on this one, more of that. Give me the feedback and we'll continue to do as best as we can with that. And again, just thank you for being here. Thank you for the platform. Thank you for the ability to just come in here and talk the greatest game on earth, and that's college football. But that's going to wrap us up. We're going to put a bow on it. Thank you all for being here. Peace and love, and we'll catch y'all in the next one.